Steel Gamer, and how are you doing? I'm going to get into a very interesting story here that is beyond hard to believe, but it's something that happened and it'll all make sense in the end. So, gonna wait for some people to get in here. I know that probably gonna watch this or whatever, but it's quite interesting. This situation is absolutely so out of control that I actually had to that I had to post it. So I should say share it. So I'm gonna wait for some people to get in here if they want. And I have gotten a couple comments from the situation that I had explained under a couple of videos that happened, and a couple of people said there's no way that this could happen, and it's like whatever. So I'm gonna cover all of that in this video, and when I explain it, it's actually funny, but it wasn't funny at the time, and it was just mind-boggling. So, as I said, just give me a few minutes, and that'll be it. Oh man, this is terrible. Alright. I hope everybody's 4th was good. There's a lot of shit to cover in here, and I'm gonna go through it like a piece at a time, but it's the amount of stuff that I'm gonna be going over with this is to some degree unrealistic. There are just so many elements of this. So I'm gonna go over all this. I'm gonna cover a few things that people are talking about in the comments, and then I'll explain it. Alright, so what's it, 1:13 in the morning. I'm going to start this at 1:15. It's now, according to my computer's clock, 1:13 in the 1:13 a.m. So I'm going to give it till this says 1:15, and then I'll start. I can hear a train around the corner from here. I'm still laughing. It's like I'm still laughing about this, but I'm not like. It's funny, but it's not funny. It's more like, are you kidding me? I can't. I still can't. Like, it's mind. Yeah, it's like so hard to wrap your head around. Think about 45 more seconds and it's going to start. Let me see. Oh, actually less than that, 20 seconds. Yep, so in 20 seconds I'm going to start, and I hope you enjoy it. Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now I'm going to start the stream. I don't know who's in here viewing, but welcome. And you're about to enjoy a very interesting and fucked up story that happened here, that I literally had to share this. And this is also going to serve as a heads up to anybody going there. Now, I want to get out a couple of things out of the way. And I will clear up every single thing that I'm talking about as it goes on at the time it happened, or at a certain time during this broadcast. So here we go. Okay, so first off, I wound up getting readmittance to the park. So they're still in the process of emailing me this. And I've been going back and forth with customer service and kind of corporate for the past week due to this incident. Um, and I do want to clarify that this is just what happened. It's unfortunate, but it's fucked up beyond belief. So let me get it straight out of the way. I am going to tell you I got thrown out of this park. And again, that's just one of these things that I'll explain later on. But again, since then, the stuff that I'm talking about, at least from my end, between corporate and the park and, customer service and things like that, has pretty much been cleared up. I just wanted to share this story. So that being said, let me begin. Okay. And let me also back up. There's a couple people in the comment section that I had left under this because I had put a review up about this entire thing, and I did email corporate. It's a huge email, and it's lengthy, and there's a lot of shit in this. And so a couple people in the comment section said there's no way that this could have happened. That is because they had already been there, and I'm a first timer, so it's hard to wrap your head around, and that's also, I'll be discussing that. So anyway, welcome to the viewer that just came in. I'm just about to start this. Alright, so here's a quick recap to the viewers that just came in. Number one, I got thrown out of this park. It's with the situation that led up to it, it'll make sense. Two, I've been in contact with customer service and corporate and the park itself, and even the corporate offices, I guess in Florida. I've been going back and forth with them, and I did get this situation resolved. But to be clear, it wasn't a phone call about, hey, let's start a problem. I specifically told customer service that, this is a call about, hey, you got a problem with something in the park. What do we do about it? Here's some solutions. But the strangest thing is, what I'm going to explain it's not even mentioned by anybody. And I talked to over 1,000 people that day that all had the same exact problem I did. So why nobody's bringing this up, I don't know. But you can't say, well, nobody's reporting a problem as there is no problem. It just means that there's nobody reporting it. So I'll start off by saying, went there on the 4th of July. My friend's tickets, or he has passes. He's a platinum package. But unfortunately, the platinum package only works in the state he got it in. So he could not use his platinum package to actually get us tickets. So we wound up paying basically full price. He wound up paying for us the full price of the tickets, which is a little over $300 for 3 people. That's just how it is. I know it's ridiculous. So that partly is why I got a refund on it. Well, I would say I got a refund. I got readmittance to the ticket to the park. So, first thing, when we went in there, when you go to an amusement park, even if it's for the first time, you're paying for entertainment. They are legally obligated to provide entertainment for you. Now, walking around, some walking around and some of the rides being closed due to COVID and a few other things, that comes with the territory, and that has absolutely nothing to do with anything that I'm talking about. So, first things first. When we got into the park, when you go into this specific location, it literally takes you 4 to 5 kiosks or booths to get your ticket straightened out. So you're literally getting your ticket straightened out from the time you get into the park and pay your tickets till about 45 minutes later when you go from booth to booth to booth to booth to booth to booth. Hey James, how's it going? So if that's how they have it set up, that's fine. That can cause pissiness because you shouldn't have to walk 10 minutes to one booth to find out you had to walk back to another booth to find out you have to go walk to another one. That again, that's far and few in between, but that's a bit fucking ridiculous, but that's not the point. I also want to clarify that standing in lines comes with the territory. Walking to these areas and trying to find your way around a little bit, that comes with the territory. Closed rides, that comes with the territory. So again, none of those things have anything to do with the issues I'm talking about in this video. And again, the issues have been since cleaned up. I hope everybody uses this as an advisory when you go to this specific location, because this is going to fuck with people, because it's unbelievable what happened. Now, the amount of time I spent in this park before I got thrown out is 7 hours. We got there at 11:15, and I say we, my family, my daughter, people I went with. And I got basically thrown out at about 6 o'clock, 6:15, somewhere around. Basically, I was in the park for 7 hours from start to finish. And again, I'll explain why I got thrown out of there. It'll make sense. It doesn't condone what I did, and I already talked to I was talking to security and everything else. So, no cops were called or anything else. I left without an issue because I asked for it. It was my own problem, and I got it. I'm a big boy, but I'll explain what happened. All right, so the first thing in this park is nothing is labeled, okay? Nothing. The walkways are not labeled. There's no signs in this park. Nothing. There's nothing labeled. So you cannot even go into the park and look at the map to find out what is even in the park for rides. That's the first problem. And you can somewhat look at one of the maps in there and you can kind of guess, but that's completely besides the point. They have nothing labeled, and they should have, because it's their park. And one of the things that I had said to somebody in one of the comments section, they go, well, you could have downloaded Google. Fuck them. Because this is an amusement park. It's not a fucking school project. It's not relevant if you're going into the park for that. It's not your responsibility, especially when you're paying almost $300 to get into the park. They damn well better explain things to you, because that's not your job. So people that literally try to say, well, you could download them, fuck them, because they're just making excuses for the park's bad behavior. Now, I want to clarify, I'll keep saying the layout of the park. The layout of the park is not the problem. The problem is nothing is labeled in the layout, making it impossible to navigate. This park is impossible to navigate around, and I'll continue going on with this. So, and I downloaded the map from the actual website. So when the time comes for me to talk about that, I will be bringing this up and pointing shit out in this that'll show you just how bad this park is. So the first thing is, there's no list in the park about, when you're looking at the map, what's even in the park for rides. You can guess, and yes, some things like the roller coaster, but they're not labeled. So for example, when I pull this map up in the park, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, the park is designed supposedly in several sections. Now, as a first timer, you have a map, but I'm going to go over what, like I said, there's a lot of shit in this. There's a lot of shit that happened in this that I'm going over, and this is, again, a heads up to people, because there's so much shit involved with this, it's ridiculous. Now, again, I want to be clear to the people who just joined in this stream. This is not a negative video. This is when I've been back and forth with customer service for the past week. The corporate office and a couple other things. I've talked to managers, and I literally outlined this, and they said, yes, this is a problem. Because the people in the park even knew some of the stuff was happening, but they didn't realize it went this bad. And why people are not talking about it, I don't know. So the point I said to these phone calls was, this isn't the park's problem. Like, the people that work in the park, it's not their fault. This has to come from corporate. And if corporate doesn't know what's going on because nobody's saying anything, nothing's going to get changed. So my call to them was more, I was aggravated, but it's more so, what's more mind-boggling is that nobody's saying anything. So I wanted to let them know that the calls that I was talking to them about and the emails I sent them was not so much as a pissiness thing, but it's more so, hey, you got a problem with your park. Here's the issues. How do we get to fix this? And that's really what this came down to. So let me continue. When we first went into this park, when I say we, I'm talking about the people I was with, my daughter, and everything else. When we first went into this park, it took us 40 fucking minutes, once we got our tickets straightened out, to find out if there was even a merry-go-round in this park. You cannot tell if there's what rides are in this park. And like I said, when I bring up the map, I'll show you. Now, it's common for when you go into an amusement park to be able to walk around and find shit. This went overboard beyond anything that's fucked up. So, not only did it take us 40 minutes to find out if there was even a merry-go-round in that park, it then took us an additional 10 to 20 minutes to figure out how to even get to it. The only reason we found out that it was even in this park is because somebody that had been there prior that overheard us talking mentioned it. And then when they said, well, they went here, we had no idea where we even were in this park half the time. And again, I'll bring up the map to show you this. So those are some of the key issues here. And again, none of the walkways were marked. It would be one thing if there was street sign or signs or arrows or anything. The ground's not even marked. There's absolutely no possible way to know what direction you're going in, where any connecting points are, or how to do anything. Now, the park is supposed to be just, it's basically branched off into a couple different sections, meaning they devise sections of the park as far as countries. So some of the park, you have to be looking at the Wiliamsburg map. Like I said, I'll bring this up in a minute. Because there's something specific with the map you're not aware of. And like I said, I'm going to go over all this. So when you're in there, it's not your responsibility to be looking up what's there. They need to provide this shit for you. And since nothing was marked, there's no pathway on the ground. Like, there's not even arrows on the ground saying this is the pathway. You are literally have no clue to where anything is. And it's fucked up. Like, that sounds weird. And the problem is the people that work in the park, that sounds odd, but if you were there for the first time, you'll get what I'm getting at. Now, I had basically told the people, and one of the solutions I had told the people in the park with all this shit is, and yes, I'm kind of giving the solutions first before we go into the issues, or I should say I'm going to the issues, that I said, the people in the park, I told them, I says, if you stand in civilian attire without even letting you know you work in the park, and then you walk around and talk to people and act like you don't know where you were going, you will find everything out that I'm saying is true. So this isn't just me saying, hey, take my word on it. Go do it and you'll see. Because I had talked to over 1,000, I started talking to people that day. I talked to over 1,000 people, and every single one of them, every single one, all had the same problem. So there's clearly problems in the park about the layout of this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring up the map. This is the map of the Wiliamsburg location, and I'm gonna start pointing out parts of these issues. So I hope you guys can see this. You might need to go into full screen in order to understand this. So the park, you'll notice where these orange words is how the park is labeled off. So you have like Italy, Scotland, England, Ireland, France, New France, Germany, and Oktoberfest. And then there's Fiesta Italia down here. You cannot tell where the fucking merry-go-round is in this. You can't even tell if it's even in the park. You can look at, say, okay, some of these are roller coasters. Now, the problem with this map is the first things first. There is no north, south, east, or west marked on this map. Now, using a mall directory, it's the easiest thing I can do. When you look at a mall directory, despite what floor you're on, if the mall has multiple floors, and despite where you look at the mall, okay, when you look, James, it's easy to look from the map. If you are in the park itself, you will never be able to find this. Yeah, unless you walk around for 6 hours, you will never find what you're looking for in here. And I'm about to explain why. So, when you look at a mall directory, no matter which floor you're on, if the mall has multiple floors, and no matter if you're looking at it from the east, west, south, or north, doesn't matter. They are all facing the same direction, so when you are standing in front of the directory, the mall layout on the directory matches up with where you are in the park. Oh, I'm sorry, in the mall. So, for example, if you're looking at the directory and there's stores, there's a department store that's off to the right. When you step out from and behind the directory and you look down the hall, the store will be down the end of the hall when you look. Now, the problem with this map is, if you take a look at where the entrance is, it's down by England. This map is not facing in the lineup of the park. For example, I'm showing you it head on. The problem is, this directory was facing this end. So when you're facing it, the entrance on the park, on the map, is here, but the entrance is actually behind you. So where they place these maps, if you take a look at any of these areas, and I'm gonna divide the map into north, south, east, and west. Yes, but you're not, let me finish what's going on. Okay, when you look at you are here, every section of this park, I guess, has one of these maps in it. The problem is the map is not placed in the section in the park that reflects the park. So for example, using north, south, east, and west, what happens is I'll mark the areas north, south, east, and west. So in Germany, we'll say Germany is where the Germany is. We'll say that where the sign Germany is the north section of that. Fine. The problem is this map would not be in the north section of Germany. It would be turned around facing east, but the layout of the map for the park you would have to be facing south in order for the map to match up. You cannot match up by looking straight at it. In every section of the park, the map was placed in a different section, and it was always turned in a different direction. So the east, when you're looking at the map, yes, you're looking at it as north, south, east, and west, when in reality, Oktoberfest would be facing the south, while the map was placed on the east side, so when you're facing it, the map is actually west. That was like that through the entire park, making it impossible for you to use the map. It's literally impossible. So I noticed this problem with the park, with the map, when I came across an area, and when you're looking at the map and it says you are here, you can stand and say you are here. There was in one of these sections earlier on, I don't remember where the hell it was, on the map itself, it would say you are here, and there was on the map, there was a gray castle that was drawn on the upper right side. So that means when you step out from in front of this map and look over to your right, the castle that's drawn on the right is supposed to be on the right side of where you are. That was not true, because the castle that was drawn on the right side of the map was actually behind me over my left shoulder. It was fucked. There was literally no possible way you could actually match up where the park was in accordance to the map. And this is the map you may be looking at is not the Williamsburg map. This is the Williamsburg map. This is the map that is in the park on every single one of these places in here. Every single one of them. Now, that information that I just explained came from customer service, and I'll tell you why I can't say that's one way or another for a fact. It's because for 7 hours, the only areas me and the people I was with kept looping out were Scotland, England, and Ireland. We never saw Fiesta Italia, Italy, Oktoberfest, Germany, New France, and France, and we were only in parts of Ireland. We never got out of near the entrance because we kept walking in freaking circles over and over and over and over again. And this park, despite what's shown on there, we found 4 rides, a total of 4 rides, which only one of them we went on, and the rest of them were just kind of stores. Now, why that's a problem and how that happened, and this is where people get fucked up, because how do you walk around in a park for 7 hours and never find this stuff? That is because nothing is marked in that park. Nothing. There isn't even arrows denoting the walkway. Now, walking around to try to find shit wasn't even possible because we were actively walking around. So, what? Nope. All right, James, where's the water? How do you get from the entrance to the water? Unless you're physically in the park, you won't have a clue to what I'm talking about. You cannot use the map to go to the water. Here is why. I'm going to bring your attention. The map is not laid out that simple. Walkways were blocked off. There were areas that were chained off. There were areas that you could go down to, that split off in both directions. One was the entrance to a ride, the other was gated off. That blocked off that area. There were other places. Now, this is what I'm going to get at. Okay, so when you look at this map, the white areas that you see on there denotes all the walkways. It denotes all the walkways. So, I'm going to bring your attention to where Ireland is. And Castle O'Sullivan is the first part of this problem. Now, when I was talking to customer service, he said, well, it's not really marked on the map. And I said, I'm not even talking about the map. I was literally standing at this location in the park. I was standing there. I literally went into Castle Sullivan. I walked into Castle Sullivan. It's a stage. What, Scotland? Yeah, you're missing. You're not understanding. You're under the assumption, James, you go from the entrance and you just somehow walk up that way. That's not how the park's designed. It's not that simple. In order for you to get to Scotland, the walkways that you're showing, they're blocked off. They're blocked off. You can't just walk from the entrance over there. It doesn't work. It's a long story, but let me continue here. So I'm going to start off with Castle O'Sullivan. Okay, so in Castle O'Sullivan, when you go up there, I was physically at this location, and I physically walked into Castle Sullivan because the direction somebody was giving me, I was trying to get to wherever this wolf exhibit was. And so what wound up happening was the wolf exhibit is behind Castle Sullivan, which means when you go into the entrance and you follow that around, you can take that right and go across the bridge across the water. The problem is Castle Sullivan is a blocked area, meaning even though there's an exhibit or something behind it, the only possible way you can get through there is to either A, climb the fucking wall on the exhibit, B, go outside around the wall on the right, or C, inside the area of that, inside Castle O'Sullivan, there's a couple of stairwells, there's a stage, and then there's a restricted access that only staff can go into that I literally opened up to peek my head through, and then there's a doorway that goes from one end of this to the other. You cannot walk. There's no walking path anywhere that allows you to go from Ireland into France. Castle O'Sullivan blocks that off. And I told the guy when this is what was going on, that area is blocked off. You can't even get in there according to that way. Yet park staff members are somehow under the assumption you can get behind there. That's the first problem. Now, what I didn't explain is that staff said this park is a loop, meaning you can go from the entrance all the way to France, New France, Germany, Oktoberfest, and then come back around, or vice versa. That is not true, because the first blockade that you run into is Castle O'Sullivan. The next part, even if you can't get to France and New France, has nothing to do with, if you take a look at that map, if you take a look at it and you look at the entire walking area, you will find that is a dead end. That entire upper section is a dead end. There is no connection point from France to Germany. You can't go from France to Germany. You can't do it. There's no connection point. There's water in the middle. There's a ride, whatever it is. There is literally no connection point from New France to Germany. It doesn't exist. So even if you could get into that section, the only way you could get into that was from Ireland into France by going through Castle O'Sullivan Wall. It's complete. That entire section of the park is completely blocked off. You cannot get in there at all. So the problem here is that if there is a walkway, you can't find it. So there's no possible way. There's no possible way for you to get in there. So my point is, even if you're looking at the map, if you remember what I said about the map, first of all, the map has no north, south, east, and west on it. And secondly, you are looking at the map this way. But when you look at the directory of where the map is in the park, the map is facing this way, while the park is this way, and then they put the directory facing this way. So what James is trying to what James is having a hard time understanding is that he's under the understanding that when you go into the entrance, you can just go that way. Wrong. Because when you get into the entrance, you have no idea which direction you're facing, because the directory shows the map in two completely different directions, not only because of where they placed it, but also when they place it, it literally changes the dynamic of where you are in the map. At least that's why I used a mall directory as a reference. Because even if you go into a mall directory, no matter what floor you're on, and no matter which end you approach the directory from, whenever you look dead on at the directory mimics the layout of the map of the mall, or wherever you're in. This, you cannot do this with this. Not only is nothing labeled, and none of the walkways are labeled in the park itself, but because of the way they put the map on the directory and then turned with the directory and had you facing the directory, it was impossible to match the directory with the map. You have no clue in the park where you are at any given point in time, simply because there's no the map does not match up with the layout of the park. It's always in a different direction, and it's always in a different section in those sections, so you can't even match it up. It's fucking retarded. So the point being is, the map is completely useless for navigation. Okay, James, how do you get behind there? How do you get... You're missing the point. That black and yellow walkway is behind Castle Sullivan. In order to get behind Castle Sullivan, explain to me how you do it. There is no walkway that allows you to go through Castle Sullivan. The only way you can get to that black and yellow area is if you go through a restricted access area, or you climb the wall of Castle O'Sullivan, or you go to the right outside and cut through the woods and come back around on the other side. You're trying to logicalize this, James. You got to remember, I was literally standing in Castle O'Sullivan. It's an attraction. It's not a way through. It's literally blocking off that section of the park. So even though you can see it there, you can't get through it. You can't, James, when you go in, you're in an exhibit. Unless you can physically phase through the wall. No, there isn't. No, there's not. That is not true. That is absolutely 100% false. You're talking to somebody who was physically standing in that location. I physically walked over there. There is no pathway through. Doesn't exist. You can say it does all you want. I was literally in the park. I literally walked into there. So I was in Castle Sullivan trying to figure out how to get on the other side. Well, I'm telling you, you're lying, because there's no walkway there. I was at that location, and I have video on it, by the way, just so you know that. There is no walkway through there, and I will challenge you on that. Want me to tell you how I got through Castle Sullivan? I walked around. I hopped the fence, walked around, and get back on the other side. Shouldn't have to. Shouldn't have to. That's not even valid. That's not a valid point. That's not a valid argument. That's not even a valid counterpoint to what I'm saying. The fact is, that part of the park is completely blocked off. And there is no connection point. You can just tell by even looking at the map. There's no connection point from New France or France to Germany. Doesn't exist. So them saying the park goes in a loop is not true. Because if it was, there'd be a connection walkway between Germany and whatever area that is. That entire upper area of the park, you can't get to. That's the first part of the problem. Now I'm going to go into the second part. When you come into the entrance, I never said that they didn't help me. That's not even the point. Because I did. When I couldn't get over there, I did. I walked back from the Ireland area, back over the area, and I went to the park entrance. And I asked somebody how do you get to whatever this wolf area is. They literally directed me through there. So that was the first time I had gone back through there, and when I saw it, because even somebody standing there, like even if you go up to Battle for Ire, nobody in their right mind is going to walk through when they see Castle Sullivan. It's a blocked area. They have no reason to go forward because it's blocked. It's an exhibit. It's literally, Castle O'Sullivan is a theater. There is no way through. You go in and you watch a show. So let me continue, because I then walked all the way back across the bridge to the person that gave me the directions the first time, or at least tried to find them. But then I found another person. I says, how do you get over there? And I says, do not tell me to go right across that bridge because you can't get over there. They go, there's a pathway. I says, no, there's not. I said, I was just over there. I physically was standing at that location, and I physically walked into Castle Sullivan. There's no way through. I said, so what you're telling me is I have to scale the wall or go around or cut through the restricted access? Because you're literally telling me the exhibit that's behind that entire wall? No, there's not. There is not. I literally walked into every archway in Castle Sullivan. There is no walkway. You're obviously not at the Wiliamsburg location, because this is the Wiliamsburg location. What you are saying is not true. I walked in there. If there was a walkway, I would have found it. It simply doesn't exist. So I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so I'm not even going to engage with you anymore, because all you're sitting there doing is you're being stupid. You're literally trying to go this he said, she said, she said. I'm not getting into this. You can think whatever the fuck you want. I'm done talking to you about this. Anyway, so in order for you to get over there, you either have to climb the wall, go around the back, or cut through the restricted access. So there's only 3 ways over there. There's no walkway, and anybody in here who's reading this, don't listen to that. It's not true. I was at this location, period. So you can say whatever you want. So the next thing here is, I went back and I basically told them this is blocked off. So I never got into New France and France area. Never even got into that section of the park because there's no way to get in there. And even if you could get through there, and if somebody were to stand over in New France and they were to, let's say, go to the creamer chocolate area, whatever else it is, and they looked at the map, they can see this is a dead end. So anybody that wants to go to Germany is going to have to walk all the way back through France, Ireland, then somehow figure out how to go from Ireland to that side, back to this side, down to Scotland. And then now they're stuck trying to figure out how the fuck to get over to here. So the other section here is, if you take a look at Italian Fiesta. Don't know what the hell's over there. I never saw that part of the park because I didn't know that part of the park existed. It's on the map, but I'm like, whatever. So the only areas we were in for 7 hours is England, Scotland, and part of Ireland. That's it. We kept walking in a circle. And just so you know, Danko, I talked to 1,000 people. 1,000 people that all had the same problems we did with navigating around. There's a problem in the park. So if you're saying that you know how to navigate the park, then you've been there before somehow or whatever it is. But you're not going to sit there and take your information and apply it to a first-timer. That doesn't work that way. So anyway, we kept walking around in circles. And just so you know, don't say that there's no way, because while I was over here waiting for somebody, a couple of random people came over and, not a couple, let me rephrase that. One person asked me, now you got to remember, where this one person asked me, I guess I was apparently by the Highland Stables. Somebody came up to me because I was looking at the directory and they must have thought I knew where I was going. I had some guy come up to me saying, how do you get out of here? He was walking around in circles for 30 minutes because he couldn't find the entrance to the park. So don't act like there's no possible way nobody can navigate around here. This park is not friggin' marked, period. If there is a walkway, they should have marked it clearly and put it like at least arrows on the ground, or they should have said, this is the walkway. Your argument, your whole thing is your statements all fall apart simply because the park is not marked. So what you're talking about is just, it's ridiculous. I'm not even going to get into this. The park is not marked. The walkways are not marked. The rides are not marked. You don't even know what the hell is even in this park. So that brings me to the point on, because I was in this park for 7 hours, walking around here, we only found 4 rides, and I was only able to get on one, which my friend, and it was a roller coaster. My friend and I spent 45 minutes trying to figure out where the entrance to the roller coaster was. The only reason we were able to get onto the roller coaster is because somebody who was walking around overheard us bitching that we couldn't even get to the entrance of this place. We were under it, and we were like, how do you get over to this entrance? The person goes, well, I'll take you. So we followed him over there. This guy went down a path that was obscured. Nobody saw. He went around this weird area and came out. How the hell did this person even find this? The entrance to that roller coaster was beyond out of view. It was hidden. There was no way we ever even found or would have found the pathway he went down to get to this exit, to get to the entrance of this place. It's impossible. When we went down, we're like, how did you even find this pathway? So that was another issue. So I only went on one ride. I went on 2 rides, the merry-go-round and the roller coaster, and that was it. So that was just another problem. Now, I'm going to bring your attention to the upper side of the park where Oktoberfest in Germany, which we never got to either because we couldn't figure out how to get over there. None of us could. And the people that I was with, I failed to mention this at first. The people I was with are from Florida. They go to the Florida Busch Gardens, and even they said this park was beyond fucked up because they couldn't find their way around either. And these are people who have gone to a Busch Gardens location. So, when we went in there and we tried going to the upper side of this park, there's a long stairwell that goes down, and then on the map, there is a path that goes to the right, which would normally, now when you're facing this, we would go down the hill, these steps that led down, and over to the left is a ride, and then over to the right is the only pathway that would have been able to get over to, I guess, Germany. The pathway on the right was blocked, and the steps that we went down led to a ride. So that way was blocked off. You couldn't get over to Germany on that way either. And we didn't even know Fiesta Italy existed. There's no way anybody's going to tell me, other than a couple of roller coasters that they see, that they can tell me what's a ride on this map and what isn't. There's no way that anybody's going to tell me that. Unless you've been to the park before, which doesn't count. So I started talking to customer service, and I had pointed all this shit out. So when I had brought up the fact that you cannot find, not you, but in general, over 1,000 people had problems navigating this place. And then for somebody to walk up to me over by where the entrance is, said they were walking around in circles in 30 minutes trying to figure out where the entrance was, shows how fucked this park is. So anybody trying to say that there's no way that you can't find your way around is an idiot. Because 1,000 people, and then the layout of the park not being marked, no, I'm not going to sit and friggin' debate with people. And I'm not going to have people tell me something that's not correct, especially when I've been there. So there's a conflict of interest. There's a conflict here. Now I'm going to bring up another problem. Another problem is the ride. There is a log ride that we were looking for, because after 5 hours, finally, we started trying to find a different ride. We wanted to go on a log ride, and when you say log ride, you usually associate that with, a log that goes down the hill and everything else. No, there's not. No, there is not. That is 100% false. There is not a single sign anywhere that directs you to anything. No, it's not. No, it's not. All of the signs that you're talking about were not up for the 4th of July. They have not been up since COVID started. They took them all down. And anybody that's listening to this broadcast right now, call the Busch Gardens location and ask them if they have any of these paths marked, and they will tell you no. So my point is, what Danko is saying is easily refuted by simply calling the park. None of the pathways in any of that park for anything was marked. They used to have it marked, but when we went there, it's not there. What you're saying, Danko, is not true. It might have been true at one point, but they took that shit all down for COVID. It's been done. So you really don't know what you're talking about. I went there on the 4th of July. I was just there for this past 4th of July. So you're not going to sit and debate with me when you haven't been there in the past, trying to utilize what may have been there now. It doesn't exist. So let me continue with the log ride. The log ride, when you apply it, usually for any amusement park, is usually water related. Because again, we were there on the 4th of July. We wanted to cool off, whatever. So my friend got into this line, and since our daughter's special needs, we had a bracelet, and they usually give you a time frame to go back to the ride. So my friend got off the ride. And it wasn't a water log ride. It was a roller coaster. So we had no idea at this point where the water log ride was, because it was supposed to be where we were. So I went over to customer service and I asked them, I just grabbed anybody. I just walked up to somebody, because at this point I started getting really fucking pissed off that I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. We paid almost $200. We paid over $200 to be in here, and we found 4 fucking things. Bullshit. So anyway, to make a long story short, I went over to customer service. Oh, sorry, not customer service. I went over to, when I say customer service, I'm just talking about people in the park. I'm not talking about the actual customer service booth near the entrance. So I just grabbed anybody, and I said, where is the water log ride? Now, keeping in mind where we were, there was only 2 rides. There was the log ride, and then there was some other ride next to it that didn't even have a name on it, so nobody even knew what the hell that was. We walked over like, what is this ride? Is this a ride? We didn't, no idea. So we didn't know what the hell that shit was. So anyway, we asked the person where the water ride was for the log. They literally pointed at the ride over by where we just got off of. We says, no, my friend just got off of that ride. They looked at me weird, and they looked at it weird. I says, my friend just got off of that ride. You're telling me that's a water ride. I'm telling you it's not, because my friend just got off of the ride. So I finally found out what happened between 2 additional people I talked to that worked in the park. Apparently, the log ride that we were looking for was over there. The problem is, in order to access that specific ride, not only did you have to go down some pathway that was out of view that you had no idea was there, but it looped around down this hill all the way around, and then it's down below this log ride. You cannot see it because you have no clue it's there, and the only log ride that's visible for when you walk up is the one we were on, which is the roller coaster. So when the people in the workers were pointing over there, yes, they were pointing over in that direction, but we had no idea what they were pointing at. We were just looking at the direction they were pointing at, so we got into a debate with them because we were like, my friend just got off of this ride, but we had no idea that they were pointing at the ride, thinking that ride that they were talking about, we were on down below, which we had no idea was there. There is a complete disconnect in the park because they shouldn't be doing that. The only reason that nobody knows that water ride is there is because there's no fucking way to know it's there. It's impossible to know because it's not listed. There's no pathway. You have no idea that the pathway that you had to go to was even there. Like, you have no reason to go anywhere. So that's another problem. So after about 7 hours of this, I got so aggravated, I says, I'm fucking done trying to find my way around here. I said, from this point forward, if I have to go from point A to point B, I am cutting through gates. I will literally open up a gate, walk through a staff-only area, and go to where I'm going. Because I'm done. I'm not going to sit there and deal with this walking around shit. I had enough. So, now, I want to be clear. Don't anybody do that, because where I walked through was just like an animal pathway. Some people get freaking stupid and they go through roller coaster and they get fucking killed. The pathway I walked down was not dangerous because I could see where it was. I could literally see the other side. And I looked at it, I scanned it before even going in there. There was no rides that went through that, no roller coasters, no nothing. It was a straight pathway that they would keep some animals on or whatever the hell it was. So, my friend was looking for this ride. I go, where is it? He points straight ahead. I said, fuck this. I opened up the gate and walked straight through, up down the hill, up the hill, out the other side, and then I got out. Needless to say, that was the first time in the park I had absolutely no problems getting from point A to point B. Now, obviously, I knew I was going to get thrown out for doing that. I know I'm on camera. I'm a big person, because what? I didn't give a shit, and I didn't want to spend another fucking minute in that. I didn't even want to spend much time in that park. I fucking couldn't stand this shit. So, obviously, yes, security came to me. He asked me for ID. I says, I'm not giving it to you. You're not a cop. And I said, listen, I'm not one of these First Amendment jackasses that's not giving you, no, I'm not going to give it because it's there. I'm not, no. I says, you're not authorized to ask me for ID. I said, did you call the cops? Yes or no? He goes, not yet. I says, well, to alleviate any issues, I says, if you're going to ask me to leave the park, I have no problems leaving it, period. He's a security guard. He doesn't give a shit. I used to do security, so I know how they think. But he had to call somebody to find out if they wanted him to get me to leave, to leave the park, because it's not his decision. He has to do what he's told. So when he had the people on the phone, I says, listen, the reason I cut through here wasn't to cause trouble. It was because I'm tired of fucking walking around in circles. I says, I've been in the same 3 fucking areas, and I don't know what the hell you're talking about, because I've only found 4 rides in this park, and I've been here for 7 hours. So the security guard started being snarky. I says, listen, don't condescend me and don't smirk at me like, how the fuck didn't I find this thing? You work here, but don't apply because you've been working here. Of course you're going to know your way around to somebody who's never been here. And I says, don't get snarky with me, and don't act cute like, how the fuck did you not find your way around? You full well know nothing in this park is marked. You know why I did what I did. And I says, if you want me to leave, I have no problems leaving. I'll just leave. Because I really don't fucking want to be in here anymore anyway. So, make a long story short, we went out, and I waited because I had to call my wife to give her some money and stuff and whatever. And he asked me where I parked. I says, I have no idea where to even begin with that because I didn't know. I parked in preferred parking. I had no concept. I had no clue that there were other preferred parkings in there. No clue. So when I went there, when we were walking out, I says, no, I'm not going to get directions. I says, I am literally going to follow you to the parking lot because I'm not going to freaking get lost walking out of here. Because I didn't know if we were off the property yet. And he told me it was. I says, that's besides the point. I kind of did it to say, hey, I'm going off the property just to prove to them I was leaving. Not that, because they don't fucking know. But I told them, I says, no. I want you to lead me to the parking lot. Because at this point, I'm fucking tired of walking around and I had it. So what wound up happening was, and this should piece together a lot of shit that it's like, how do you not navigate around here? Well, even going out to the friggin' parking lot, where there was a pathway that led off to the right, which is basically a main pathway. Everybody was walking down it, and then there was a pathway that walked off to the left. Now, my friend came back when I was giving my wife money and everything else, because I'm like, where did he park? And he told the security guard. And the security guard was like, the security guard had problems trying to figure out where the parking lot is because they move it. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking to myself, here you are smirking at me because I can't find my fucking way around, and you work here and you don't even know where the parking lot is. Fuck off. I didn't say that to him, but I was, that's what I was thinking. So, anyway, when he starts walking out, he starts going to the path on the left. Now, the path on the left is marked up above, but it's above the walkway and it has the sign for the parking lot. But me not knowing what parking lot I was even in wouldn't have mattered. But the fact remains is, when we were walking up there, the left pathway I never would have even taken. So there would be no reason for me to even look up and see the sign. The reason why I never would have taken the left pathway is because mainly everybody was walking down the right pathway. So I had no idea what the left pathway meant to. I had no idea if it went to a parking lot. And I wasn't about to go down that pathway because as far as I knew, it led back into the fucking park. So I wasn't about to take the chance on walking back in the park after they told me to leave, only to find out I was back in the park. I was like, fuck this. So when it happened, it's like, I never would have went down this left pathway, which means I never would have found the fucking car. So it's not just inside the park that's a problem. It's out, it's everywhere. That park is fucked. It's completely fucked because there's nothing marked in it at all. And so, even if there's no street signs or arrows or whatever it is on poles, it's inexcusable to have this. It's inexcusable. It is I should say, there's no excuse to not have spray painted arrows on the ground that are color coded. And when you go into the park, they hand you a sheet of paper that says, blue arrows denote a walkway, and then have all the blue arrows so you can find your fucking way around. There's no excuse for that. And as far as people saying use the map, I've already explained why the map is completely useless, because nothing matches up to where it is, and the direction you're facing does not always denote the direction of the park, because you don't know if you're facing north, south, east, or west. The map is not facing the same place in every direction. And the map is useless. So anybody that said to me, try to use the map, I refuted it by simply pointing out it's ridiculous. So there's nobody that's going to sit there and argue with me that Castle O'Sullivan blocks off Ireland from France, which means you can't even get into this entire upper area because there's not even a section that connects Germany to New France, which means that entire section of the park is blocked off, period. You cannot get over there. And that's the end of that. Now, if you look at where the water is that splits between Fiesta, Italy, Oktoberfest, and Germany, if you go through that middle section and you cut that entire section out, Germany and Oktoberfest can also not be accessed either. Which means now you have the entire upper section of that park, minus a small section of Ireland, inaccessible. Now, because of where Fiesta Italy is, and you've been walking around in circles, never saw that area either. Guess what? That's over 80% of the park that was missed because they can't mark walkways. There are pathways that are hidden that you have to know are there. And let me bring up Sesame Street. Never saw that either, and here is why. When you enter the park, if you take a look at where Sesame Street is located, on the bottom section of that is a long blank walkway that nobody was walking up to. You have no idea what's even down there, and if you're going to look at all the stuff in the park is over to the, if you go in the entrance, it's over this way, not down. So it doesn't matter whether these attractions are closed, you're not going to go down that section of the park, which means you cannot find Sesame Street now either. So if you have kids, you'll never see that. So that is 1, 2, 3 base sections in the bottom section of the park, and the entire northern section of that park is inaccessible. If it's accessible, they need to mark the walkways and they need to show you how to get over there. Every place I went, it's like if you walk towards the end of a mall and it's a dead end, and you know it's a dead end because the directory shows it, and you're trying to get out of the mall, you're not even going to walk up to the end. So even if there is something over there that allows you out, you'll never see it because you have no business walking up there. That's how this park was. So, in that regard, the Wiliamsburg location only has England, Scotland, and part of Ireland as an actual part of the park. The rest of it doesn't exist. It's not even there. Now, obviously that's an extreme statement, but what I mean by it's not there is if you don't see it, it doesn't exist. And if you don't see it because you can't find it, you'll just argue that it's not there. So, again, people can say that there's a walkway over between Ireland and France. I'm going to refute that simply because I was in Castle O'Sullivan. I was inside of it. Not inside of it, but I was literally out in front. I walked through one archway. It led into the attraction. I walked into the middle archway. It's in this section. I literally walked. I went into one end of Castle O'Sullivan and came out the other. It's blocked off. There's no walkway. Simple as that. So the point being is that trying to say that there's a walkway after the way I went through that, I literally started on one end of Castle O'Sullivan and walked through to the other side. I walked through all three archways. And when you walk through the first archway, it's a wall. Like what's on your right side is a wall. Sorry. When you walk through Castle O'Sullivan's first archway, on the left, it's a wall. There's nothing, you can't even, what are you going to do? It's a wall. So the middle section it's part of the, when you stand in the middle section, you look left or right, it's a wall. It's a wall. And then the back entire area is a wall. So, and I'm just curious to what you mean by the whole park is marked. What do you mean by marked? Because you're stating that as if there's navigational arrows and street signs pointing where everything is and everything rides and everything else. That's not true. Okay, well, let me ask you a question. How do you get behind the castle? See, this is a question that you're not even addressing. No, there's not. They don't exist there. You clearly have not been there in a while. You literally clearly have not been there in a while because they don't exist. And as I said, you're sitting there trying to utilize what may have been there in the current section on the 4th of July. It doesn't exist. And you can call the park and ask them. They will tell you those signs don't exist. So what you're doing is now you're just stating stuff that's not true, that anybody can easily verify. What does that have to do with the 4th? And I got news for you. If you're saying that the signs are there on June 29th, that's not true either. Because people left reviews on June 26th to state that there was nothing marked. So, you're either A, not talking about Williamsburg, or B, you're trolling. There isn't a single marker for anything in that entire park. And like I said, you can sit there and say there is all you want. But if anybody wants to check this out, call the Wiliamsburg location and ask them why they took down all the navigation signs. And they will tell you, we don't know, but they're not up. Call them and they'll tell you that. No, that's not true. That is not true. So here's another case of people just coming in and trolling. Okay, so as I said, I have most of this shit on video. I have most of it on video. I will put this thing together and I will upload it. And I want you to show me where all these fucking signs are. Because you can ask the people we were with. The 1,000 people that I also asked, you're going to tell them that they're lying too? Nobody can navigate around this park. Nobody could. Oh, I shouldn't say nobody. 1,000 people that I talked to, nobody can navigate. Nobody can navigate around this. So my point here is that you can sit and debate with me all you want. I'm not here to appease you, and I'm not doing anything. The simple fact that all anybody has to do is call the park, and they will find out what you're saying is not true. Anybody can just call the park and ask them why there are no signs around, and they will tell you nobody knows. But the park staff will tell you nothing's marked. In fact, they will tell you nobody knows why those signs were taken down. But they took down all the signs. The park used to have them, but like I said, you don't have to take my word for it. Call the park tomorrow. Call them and ask them. So it doesn't matter what you're saying. You can sit and say whatever you want. I'm telling you to call the park and find out. No, that's not what I said, darn. That's not even what that's not even close to what I said. That's not even close to what I said. And here's the other thing. I love when people try to debate me because what I actually said is in the video. All you have to do is back up and listen to what I said. You'll see that what you're saying, I never said. If that's what you heard, you need to go back and listen to the video because it's literally in the video. I mean, the thing here is that you're all right. Let me explain a few things to the people that are viewing this, and I'll also explain this to. I think I'm pronouncing your name right. I can't pronounce it, but you're talking to somebody who won't let you talk me in circles. I call you out. You really don't know who you're talking. If you're on this channel doing this, you really have no idea who you're talking to. Because there's nothing you can say that'll be correct on anything I said. Because you can't debate with anything I say on any of my videos and be right. You can't. Because the simple fact is, I can easily refute your statement about the signs being marked, because all somebody has to do is call the park. I can easily refute what you're saying now about, well, you said one thing and not another simply because it's in the video. So you're sitting there trolling, dude, so it doesn't matter what you say. Everything you're saying is incorrect, and not only is there video evidence to prove it, but the park will also tell you what you're saying is not true either. So everything I'm talking about can be verified. Everything you're saying cannot be verified. All right, so now for the viewers that are aware of this person clearly has no clue to who they're talking to when they're trying to use statements like this. So let me ask you, what does walking in circles in 7 hours because the park's not navigated have anything to do with you making shit up and trying to talk in circles? What does that have to do with anything? Okay, so here's the thing. If you're going to tell me I'm trolling, that means what I'm saying is not true. So that means what I'm saying is not true if somebody calls the park and the park tells them, which they will, that there's no signs up, and you're saying that that's not true. You're literally saying that the park is lying, so is everybody else, and you're correct. That's what you're saying. You're literally saying that you are the only one that sees these mysterious signs. And on top of that, your last statement about, he said that he walked into the log flume, but also said that there's no pathway to get there, is also false because that's not what I said. You took what I said and removed the context of it and then did that. Now you're lying about that. And now you're actually saying yep. Okay, so now, again, here's another thing. You're making nonsense statements because you're literally saying that the map is put up in conjunction with the reflection of the park. That's easily refuted because I partially also have it on video, but at the same time, there were people who left reviews who were also saying this, plus the park will also tell you it's not navigated either. Also, anybody that happens to go there, and it's in the park's in the current condition it's in, if the map is so simple to follow, explain this, smartass. When you're standing in front of the map will show a building drawn on the right, which means when you pop your head out from the map, the building that's drawn on the map is supposed to be on the right. So why is it behind my left shoulder then? But yet, you can't follow a map. So the point here is that you're trying to utilize arguments that don't even work. Sorry, not arguments. You're trying to take up contrary positions to troll, but they don't work. Every single statement you just said has been refuted. Every single one of them. And it's like you're grasping at straws because you don't know who you're talking to. I'm not one of these people on the net who argues and debates. I simply back up everything I'm saying because it's irrefutable proof that if you don't like it, oh well. But you can sit and try to argue with me all you want, but you've been proven wrong in every single end of these. Every single one of them. So it's just really funny to watch someone who came into this channel who has absolutely no clue to who they're talking to and how they conduct stuff, because I'm not one of these fucking morons on TikTok or Twitter or wherever else it is who gets into circular arguments. The problem with your statements is you haven't backed up a single thing I said. My statements can be easily checked. You can verify anything I've said, and I encourage people to do so. So this is one of these things where I didn't just say it. Call the park and they'll verify it. You're just saying, oh, they say it. You have absolutely no proof of that. But my statements can be verified. That's the difference between me and you. And like I said, you have absolutely no fucking clue to who you're talking to, because you're talking to somebody who doesn't allow morons such as yourself to come in and start talking in circles, and then use incomprehensible statements that don't even have anything to do with each other to try to connect statements together. Well, yeah, of course I've got you dumbfounded, because you're too fucking stupid to argue correctly. You're just like every other person on the net. When you encounter somebody who actually knows how to back up their arguments, you can't say anything. Because like I said, you can say anything you want. Anything you say, everything you've been arguing with me against, you haven't backed it up with a fact. I have. That's the difference. So the point here is that you can sit and say whatever you want. That's why I said don't take my word on it. Call the park. Call the park and ask them why there's no navigation signs. How come the park is not easy to follow? And ask them why these maps are not put in the right places. And they'll tell you. They don't know. The answer that they're going to say is, we don't know why they took all the signs out. Okay, that's fine. You can do that. Now, let me ask you a question. What does that have to do with any of the facts I put in this video? I'm just curious to where your mindset is, where you keep attempting to state blanket statements without backing up a single. You haven't backed up a single thing you've said. Nothing you said is fact. You haven't proven it. What? Your word is good on it. I'm just curious, because like I said, when you came in, you clearly have no idea who you're talking to. And go back and watch any video I've ever done on anything. Every single person, such as yourself, who comes in, I always show they are wrong. Okay, that's fine. So, if that's the case, right? If that's the case, then you're going to tell me that if somebody calls the park, like I said to them, and the park's going to say, yeah, all these signs are up. You're really going to say that? So, that's going to be false. Okay, so now you're just talking to talk. So I'm done entertaining this conversation with this person. Now, here's something else. You could sit and babble all you want. I won't throw you out of the stream. I'm not like that. Because I'm not going to sit there and silence you. I don't need to silence you. I've already made you look like a fucking moron. Because you're just repeating the same stuff over and over again. As I said, everything I said can be verified, so it's irrelevant what you're saying. You remind me of one of those people that will say, oh, this thing sucks, and when somebody asks you, what sucks? Oh, I don't like this. And then say, well, yeah, I don't like this, but you can't structure your argument for anything. You just keep repeating yourself. You can just keep repeating the same lines over and over again as if that's going to make them a fact. No, see, here's the here's something else I just find interesting. These people will cause you to reply and then act like you're just repeating yourself. No, I am replying to what you're saying, and then you're trying to act like I'm just repeating myself over and over again. No. Replying to you doesn't give you the ammunition to set up situations to act like all I'm doing is I'm replying to you. So if I'm repeating myself, then maybe you should stop repeating the same sentences. Right, because you keep saying there are. Well, it is a fact. It is a fact. All somebody has to do is call the park and they'll tell them that. How are you debating that? How are you literally going to say that's false if somebody calls the park and the park tells them that? How is that false? All you keep saying is that it's over and over and over again. All I'm saying is, call the park. and they will find out what I said is correct, which automatically makes what you said false. You're just talking. So my point here is that somebody calls the park, they'll easily find this out, and you're sitting there saying it's false. So what's going to happen is you're just going to you've already made yourself look like an idiot. Yep, here we go again. That's interesting, because if you call the park, why would the staff say we don't know why all the navigation signs were removed? I'm just curious if somebody calls the park and does that, because people on my streams usually will do what I ask to find out if I'm telling the truth. That's why nobody disputes me. I mean, it doesn't matter anyway. I could get the park on the phone, tell them that over here, and you'll say I didn't call the park. It doesn't matter what I say. You're just going to keep saying. You're just going to saying it doesn't exist. Whatever. Like I said, I mean, I've already pointed out 3 specifics on this, and you're just like trying to state your fact. What you're saying is fact. It's not. Okay. If that's what you believe, that's good. Like I said, all somebody has to do is call the park. Not to mention, you can look at the reviews that were put up before your date. I can't call the park now. It's closed. It's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. I'm saying that even if I did this during business hours and I called it and had them on the phone and had them say it, you'd still say I never called the park. You'd say I called somebody else. My point is, someone like you, even though you know you're wrong, will continue saying you're right just to argue. You're just doing circular logic. No, why don't you do it? I don't need to do it. Because here's the thing. I don't care what you're saying. The rest of the viewers that I have will go ahead and do this, so they don't really care what you're saying. I don't need to do this. You're right, I won't. Do you know why? Because I already did. I already emailed the park. I don't know if you were here at the beginning of this. I've already emailed the park. I've emailed the appropriate people. I was on the phone back and forth with them for the past week, and I already got a refund for them. I already got a refund. Well, not a refund, but I got re-entrance fees for the park. So I don't know what your point is. So, for the rest of the viewers watching, normally I would debate somebody like this, but that's just not this type of video. This is just a heads up and to say, hey, here's what happened in the park. And so I called them, and they're working on it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm still waiting for you to actually structure your argument instead of saying blanket statements that have no basis on them. I can sit and say, I climbed a mountain. Which mountain? No, I climbed a mountain. It's not my fault. You're a troll. That's what you're doing. So it's really interesting. So like I said, to the rest of my viewers, don't ever, just once somebody gets to this point, don't even bother with them anymore. They're just going to continue. It's like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Okay, what specifics am I wrong about? Well, you did this. Prove it. They have no proof. And they just keep going in circles. They'll literally set up situations so you reply to them and say, well, you're repeating yourself. Yeah, of course you're repeating yourself, because if you're saying the same thing for me to reply to, my replies are going to be the same. It's just funny how these people's minds work. I mean, I have an idea of who this is, but I'm just kind of entertaining them now because it's kind of interesting. Because like I said, I mean, everything I said is a fact, and it's easily verifiable. Nothing that this person has said has any basis on it. All they keep saying is, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. They can't back up a single thing. Can't say what I'm wrong about. So it's like I said, it's quite interesting. So yeah, you just don't bother with these people. So I don't know. It's interesting. So I've already gotten my So anyway, to continue on. So as I said at the very beginning of this is to the rest of the viewers. I'm just gonna let the person talk now. To the rest of the viewers, as I said, in case you missed the beginning of it, what I basically said was that when you're on the phone with people, you want to be careful because you don't want to damage your chances. So when I was talking to them and I gave them my email information and everything else, so they're mailing me the tickets. What you don't want to do is because the park didn't provide the entertainment that they were legally obligated to do. This is not one of these things that they can't refund. They legally have to give you either a refund or entrance back into the park simply because a place cannot, I'm just going to educate some people, an entertainment place like this cannot set it up so you can't find your way around and then basically blame you for not finding your way around. That's not how this works. They literally have to have everything clearly marked. They have to have access to everything because, like I said, this map doesn't even show what rides are in here. There's nothing listed for rides. So, I just a quick point of reference. Dyko said the mark labels everything. Okay, that's why it doesn't label merry-go-round, roller coaster, tilt-a-whirl, none of these rides. But the map labels everything. It's right on screen now at this point. I just think this is fucking funny. So it's like, I don't know, it's just really funny. So that was basically my trip to Wiliamsburg Busch Gardens on the 4th of July of 2021. And what I did to, deal with the issue. And because, like I said, when I called customer service, I said, listen, I don't want this to be one of these negative calls. This is more about, it's mind-boggling how 1,000 people I talked to that day all had the same issue and nobody said anything. And if nobody says anything, corporate's not going to change it. I mean, maybe corporate knows, who knows. But when I said to them that the whole statement of, well, we haven't had any reports of that doesn't really fly because if nobody's reporting it, that doesn't mean that there's no problem there. That just means nobody said anything. So when I was talking to the people on, I talked to several different people this week in several different, Busch Gardens locations, some of them in corporate, and they knew some of the stuff I was saying, but they didn't know the extent it went to or what was happening to people in the park. So my concern wasn't, I was aggravated, but I can't figure out what was more weird. Me having this issue of not being able to find shit because nothing's marked, or all these people having the same problem and nobody even saying anything. It's absolutely ridiculous how nobody says anything. That's what really got me. So when I was talking to customer service, I was like, you gotta fix this shit because first of all, it's the 4th of July. People are miserable. People are on that. That's a contributing factor. And then if they're walking around hot and they can't find anything because nothing's marked, they're gonna get twice as pissy. Then they're gonna come back and yell at you guys. You can't do that. So what you can't do also if you're getting a refund, or what I don't believe in, because there's a lot of people that will, I deserve a refund, blah, 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 and then they start abusing what they get. No. So when I was telling him, I says, I don't even want a refund. Just give me entrance fees back to the park. I don't care. So he goes, well, did you have an all-day pass? For an all-day eating pass? I said, yeah, because that's when you pay for that. I says, if you're going to add that in, fine. But I'm just telling you right now, that's not even that. I'm not asking for that to be part of the refund because the all-day eating pass we used. So I don't want something that they did. I'm not asking for a refund on something I used because that would be ridiculous. So they might give it to me. I don't know. But I said, I'm not going to abuse this. I said the only problem we didn't get what we paid for was the actual entertainment. So you have to be careful about what you're doing because there's a lot of people that will abuse that shit. And I think he had more respect for me for saying that. And so another thing is that I have enough common sense having done customer service where I was reading reviews how there was a lot of people pissed off at the customer service. Now, I personally didn't have a problem. Everybody I dealt with was professional. They were patient and everything else. I mean, they knew I was kind of aggravated. So, to me, it was weird. I know because people piss and moan about the lines or the rides being closed. That stuff comes with the territory. But I told him, I said, here's a couple of other suggestions you might want to do. So my whole point to the call, like I said at the very beginning of it, this, in case you missed it, and what I said to the guy over the phone was, I don't want this to be a negative call. Yeah, this is a problem, but it's more so, I'd rather say, hey, you guys got a problem. Hey, how can we fix this? I'm all about trying to fix this. So it's kind of like weird. That's all. So anyway, that's really all I have to say on this. I just wanted to give people a heads up that if you go there, just be aware that this is happening. So the people I talked to said they're working on, they who knows if this is true, but what I talked to the guy about, he gave me some information about the layout of the park. And I even told the staff there, I was like, listen, go into civilian attire. Meaning, don't wear your work outfits. Just act like anybody in there who don't know where they're going to. Stand by the directories, and then or the maps, and then ask people. And you'll find this stuff out. You'll literally find this stuff out. So, who knows? But he gave me some information about this, and I says, okay, now that you've given me this information, I wasn't even aware of. Now, if I go back in there with these passes and something mess up, that's on me. But I said this never should have happened in the first place. So what I use is there's an amusement park in Massachusetts. It's Canopy Lake, and it's in, I think, Salisbury, Mass. I believe that's where it is, or Canopy, Mass. I'm not sure where the fuck it is. It's over there somewhere. But the point being is that I said if you've never been to Canopy, even as a first timer, if you go into that park, you get your admission, you get your bracelet or whatever it is they give you, the pass, a stamp on your hand, whatever. And then you're into the park. There's no 6 different kiosks to go in. No, there's none of that. You go in, there's an entrance, and you're done. But when you go into that park, there's a directory you basically see immediately. If my memory recalls correctly, there's a map. It's like giant. Now, on the map, stuff is actually marked. It literally has the word roller coaster, Tilt-A-Whirl, or whatever these ride. It has the actual ride name, so you can look at the map and know exactly how many rides are in the park. Not to mention that when you look at the map, it matches up to where it is in the park. So anything drawn on the right side is on the right side. Anything that's on the left side is on the left side, vice versa. And so even on other places in the park, the map was placed in accordance to the park layout, so the map matched up with the park. So anything that was written on the map when you're looking at it in a different section that's on the right is actually on the right. So when you look out, you can see it. And so everything is marked exactly where it is. So even if you don't have the pathways marked, the map alone allows you to navigate. And that is with a first-time visit. The point is that a first-time visit shouldn't be having these problems to the extent it is. Now, like I said, the staff in there that I talked to, and even over the phone, knew there was problems with this, but they didn't realize it was this bad. It was just fucking horrible. So that's about the extent of that, and that's really all there is. So I just wanted to, make people aware of that. If you go in there, the easiest thing to do is to tell somebody to just literally get a customer service personnel in the park somewhere, or somebody that works there, and have them walk you to where you're going. And if they ask you, it's like, hey, where do you want to go? Before you can even answer that, say, okay, before I answer that, I need a list of stuff that's in this park so I know what I'm even looking for. So it's one of these things that you don't even have an idea of where you want to go. Because I couldn't even answer that. They go, well, what are you looking for? I says, I don't know. I have no idea what's in here to even know. And so when somebody goes, well, it's on the website, and I says, this is an amusement park, not a school, not college. I shouldn't have to look at an outside source, because the amount of money you pay for the entrance fee in this park is so ridiculous that no, looking up an outside source is it's inexcusable. Completely inexcusable to pay that amount of money and still have to fuck that. So this isn't some random $10 park. This is a fucking almost $300 entrance fee It's fucking ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous the amount of money that costs to get in here, and then you still have to fucking do work. Fuck off. No, the park's not supposed to be doing that. That's not your job. So, again, I don't want to, look at this as a negative. Like, it's just fucking ridiculous. So, as I said to the person who said, "Oh, that's not possible to walk around the entrance," I never said it was possible. I never said I was at the entrance. I said I only wound up going to the same 3 areas because it kept circling around. Even my wife was trying to figure out, like, how the hell did I get back out here? So, like I said, we had 2 people with us. Sorry, we had 3 people with us that live in Florida who said this park was fucked up. And they had been in a Busch Gardens plenty of times in various parts of this country. They said they've never been to the Williamsburg Park and they have no idea why nothing was marked. He goes, in Florida, everything's marked. So, as it stands now, we'll find out. But right now, in the process of waiting for them to email me the tickets back or the re-entrance fee, and then I got to work some shit out. But I don't know. I will be back in a minute. Alright, so in that regard, I'm just basically going to end this stream because there's really nothing left to talk about. So I just wanted to make this video. So I guess that's about it. So I guess I'm going to end the stream. Thanks, viewers, for tuning in. And as I said, don't take anything I said in this video. Call the park and ask them. They'll tell you. And like I said, look at some of the reviews prior to when Dyke Crow, I cannot pronounce the name, said, "Oh, I went the 29th." That's pretty interesting because the reviews that were prior to that were saying that there was nothing marked. There's no navigation. It was basically impossible to navigate around. So you can even do a Google search on that and you'll find out people are posting this. So, like I said, not that I have to justify that, but I just think it's funny how, somebody said they went at a point in time where they said the stuff was up that they clearly haven't, because even the staff will tell you the stuff was taken down basically during COVID. So there's no fucking way that they went there and that stuff was up. So it's just saying stuff to spite me. So anyway, that's enough on that. I've harped on that, but that's about it. So until next stream, Steel Gamer signing off.